What's going on, everybody? Spaceballs here. Welcome back to another Skylanders video. Alright everyone, today we're going to be doing a build guide on Tidepool to continue this build guide series. Let's get right into this one here. This one doesn't need any explanation. You guys know how we do it. Now, Tidepool is one that I had to kind of put on the back shelf due to PvP defense and the fact that I am clearing all the content in the game. I'm clearing C6 in 6 to 10 turns, and the Feather Dungeon same 6 to 11 turns. So Tidepool being a damage dealer, I just don't need her right now. Now, Guild Siege is coming soon, so I do want to get her up and running. But I really had to pick and choose where I wanted to put my skill ups, and I really wanted to get Kingpin and Zulu rolling. I think they're going to be more important for me to have for Guild Wars than Tidepool is. Now, don't get me wrong, Tidepool right now currently probably is the best single target DPS damage dealer in the game as far as single target damage goes. It's just, when you're a free-to-play player, you really have to, pick and choose which, legendary Skylanders you're going to build and when you're going to build them. So I was building Tidepool, and I did get another super boost last night on her live on Twitch. So if you want to follow me there, that is linked down below. And I did get another super boost on her, but again, it's not enough. If I can get like one or two more, I will put her to the top of the list. Let's talk about her kit before we talk about the build. Now, as far as the passive goes, we got the leader passive, which is grants actually down by 15%. For 3 turns on the enemy whenever you attack an enemy with 75% or above HP. And that is always on her no matter what. And then when she's in the leader slot, she will grant accuracy down by 10% on the enemy whenever a team member attacks an enemy with 90% or above HP. Really good. I think a lot of people like her passive and they use it in PvP content and in some PvE content. I think there's better ones out there. I think Spitfire's is better. But if you're not using Spitfire, I'm guessing her passive is just as good. I don't really think she's used for her passive, to be honest. Well, not that passive. I think she's more used for this passive here, which is after attacking the enemy, if the attacked enemy has 3+ debuff effects, grants accuracy up by 20%. Effect on yourself for 3 turns. Additionally increases your defense penetration rate by 0% in battle. Now, we've been talking about this 0% in battle. This can't be 0%. It has to be more than that. It's either 10%, 50%, 100%. But the damage that she does, and this is what makes her so good, and this is the passive that you're looking for, but it says 0%. There has to be some type of error there, of course, because it just can't be 0%, because the amount of DPS damage that Tidepool dishes out, it's impossible for that to be 0%. I'm sure if I did some testing and if I, took her into battle, I can kind of calculate it, and maybe people have, so I'll ask around on Discord and see if I can't get a, exact number for you guys and put it on the screen. I will do the best I can, but I can promise you it is not 0%. Now, going into the 8-3 here, inflicts 147% of attack and damage to one enemy and grants the accuracy down by 30%. You guys will see a trend here, a lot of accuracy down, which is actually really good because a lot of these defenses, they just have a ton of debuffs, and having all this accuracy down is just going to make it a lot easier for you not to take all these debuffs on your glass cannons. And that's for 2 turns with the 50% chance. When you attack accurately, the attack will always land as a critical hit. Again, such a good skill, especially paired with the passive now with that defense penetration. Now, you don't have to worry about critical rate on your Tidepool, which makes it that much easier to build your Tidepool. So you only have to get her around like 60%. Now, this only goes for the 8-3. So again, you're going to want critical rate on your Tidepool, don't get me wrong. But you don't need to go like 100%. You could have her probably around 70, 75%, and that will be fine for the A1, A2. But as far as this 8-3 goes, you don't need to worry about any critical rate. Like, if you can't get critical rate on her, let's say you can only get like 40%, you can mostly just use her for this skill, and this will do big damage, trust me on that. And it's only 1 mana cost, so really cheap skill to use. Now, I do think that Tidepool should have about 70 to 80%, but again, if you can't get it, at least on the A3 is always going to crit. And then we have the A2, inflicts 56% of attack and damage to one enemy, and then inflicts 56% of attack and damage to one more enemy. And this is where it gets a little bit more nutty. Inflicts 56% of attack and damage on one more, and then 1 random enemies 4 additional times. So basically this is hitting 6 times. This skill is like wrecking stuff. This is why Tidepool is considered such a good damage dealer, because like all of her skills just dish out so much damage. Now, a lot of people seem to forget, like if you look at this skill, then you look at this defense penetration passive, and this is hitting 6 times, you are just going to wreck stuff. And that's why Tidepool is considered the best DPS damage dealer in the game. If the target is in break or knockdown status, use major squad attack again. So imagine this. Imagine the target being knocked down, you doing this skill, you're hitting 12 times. There is no way that target is staying alive if you hit 12 times. So just me reading her skills, I'm sure you guys are starting to understand why Tide Pool is so strong. And it's so funny because when Skylanders first came out, we were talking about it on Twitch yesterday. There was a tier list that came out. And this is why I'm not a big fan of tier lists. A tier list had came out and put Tide Pool in like the F tier. So everybody thought Tide Pool was garbage. Like people used to pull Tide Pool and the chat would be like, rip. And I can never understand why, because I was looked at her kit and I'm like, but she sounds so strong. And it turns out being that Tide Pool is like one of the best Skylanders in the game. So this is why I always tell you guys take tier lists with a grain of salt, because most of the time it's just somebody's opinion that's making the tier list like for a video or content. And I'm not saying they're always wrong, but 99.9% of the time it's just their own opinion. They're not like talking to like the whole community or a bunch of people in that community. They're kind of just going with the flow, and maybe they don't own that Skylander or they're not using that Skylander, so they really don't know how OP that Skylander actually is. And Tide Pool is a perfect example of it. And now moving on to the A1. Inflicts 60% of attack as damage to one enemy 2 times and grants the accuracy down by 20%. Once again, that accuracy down. She just has so much accuracy down that it's going to come in handy. Trust me, it's going to stop your team from taking a ton of debuffs, because all these defenses just have so many debuffs. So this is just so great and just an extra feature on your Tide Pool, because honestly Tide Pool doesn't even need all this accuracy down, and she's still going to be the best DPS damage dealer in the game. And then we have evasion rate down by 20%, which is wonderful. We love evasion rate down, especially on these crazy high resistance, high evasion kingpins, wildfires, chills. We love having evasion rate down. Even a really good built stink bomb can have a lot of evasion rate, and then with his buff, he could be peaking like 50 to 60%. I have seen it recently where I couldn't even touch the stink bomb because he had just so much evasion rate on him. So this really comes in handy as well. And that's for 4 turns with a 50% chance each when you attack accurately, able to put the enemy in knockdown status. And again, she comes with her own knockdown. So if we remember the A2, if they're in knockdown status, she's going to hit an extra 6 times, which pairs with the passive, which has defense penetration. It's just her kit, once again, like all these Skylanders that we go over, and this is a common theme in Skylanders, all of their kits are just paired perfectly. At least the top Skylanders anyways, like the kit is just perfect synergy, and that's what makes such a good Skylander. So with that being said, let's get into the build part of things. Now, like I said, I kind of pushed my Tide Pool to the back, and I took some of her really good runes and put them on my Nightfall. And these were the runes I had on Tide Pool until I switched them to Nightfall. But we're going to go over Tide Pool and the runes she has on her now. But this was her stats before I switched them to my girl Nightfall. She deserved it, and she's max super boosted and easy to skill up because she's heroic. So she just took that role as a damage dealer at the time for me better, because again, building her heroic is a lot easier than building a legendary. You guys know that by now. So it just made perfect sense for me to do it. And let's go back to Tide Pool. So again, with Tide Pool, we are looking for DPS stats. We're looking for attack, crit rate, crit damage, defense penetration. Boost rate wouldn't be terrible, but again, we can only get boost rate on the gloves and the boots. So we're not going to go out of our way to get the, evasion and the boost rate. We're really just looking for that straight DPS damage, and we're looking for that threshold of 15,000 HP and 1,500 defense, or as close as we can get to it as possible. You can go either way with Tide Pool. Depending on your runes, depending where you are in the game, you do want some accuracy on her. I wouldn't go crazy trying to get the accuracy, because again, she's just bringing accuracy down. It's not necessarily needed. It's a good thing to have in battle if she lands it. Same thing with the evasion rate down, but it's not something I would like lose DPS stats for. If you get the accuracy and substats, great. But if you can't get it, I wouldn't like drive yourself crazy trying to like stack accuracy on your Tide Pool. It is a benefit, but you don't have to miss out on DPS stats to get that extra accuracy. I do think that HP, defense, attack, crit rate, and crit damage is way more important than accuracy. Accuracy can just be that extra 4th stat that's on the rune. You don't necessarily want rolls on it. It's just good to have it, but you don't necessarily need it. Other than that, Tide Pool is going to be built just like any other damage dealer. So let's talk about her runes here. Now, I'm missing the gloves and the boots, and you can see her current stats. She's already almost meeting the thresholds that we want. Missing those boots and gloves. The boots I took off her had like 20% crit rate. Imagine her having those boots again. She'd be at 60% crit rate. And then if I get another 15% in the gloves, she's right where we want her to be. So let's talk about the weapons. First one, we got HP. And again, this isn't a perfect weapon for me. Honestly, I think I want to change this in the future. Now, I do want HP on her, but I am going to be running HP boots. So I don't think it's necessary for me to have, a weapon that has 2,000 HP. I'd much rather have a weapon that has like 20% crit rate or crit damage. I mean, the rest of the substats are perfect except for the resistance. We got crit damage, crit rate, and then the HP. But this is something I'm definitely going to change in the future. I definitely want something that has, you know, more crit rate. Even something like this that has HP, accuracy, crit rate. I would even think something like this would be better for Tide Pool. Now, again, you do want to meet that HP threshold, but I don't think it's going to be that hard when you're using HP boots. Currently, I would keep these. Maybe if these roll, you know, a double crit rate or a double crit damage, I'll switch for this. So it really just comes down to me looking through my runes and finding something better. I don't think this is terrible, but I do think we can do better. Again, this is not a perfect weapon. These are just runes that I rolled that I never ended up using that are just sitting in my box. So I just threw them on Tide Pool just to have them, you know, somewhere so they're not just being wasted. But again, this might be something that I'll switch in the future. Now, the crit damage and crit rate is nice. We'll have to see where her stats are when I finish her, and that will really decide what I do with these two weapons. They're not perfect, but they're decent. And you guys know what the rune drops and the rune rolls in this game. Most of the time, you're just getting subpar anyways. So we'll have to see where that goes. Moving on to the helmet. This helmet is actually perfect for Tide Pool. We got crit damage 20%. We got 128 attack. We got crit rate 5%. Now, if this resistance was accuracy, I'm really hoping soon they add some type of rune enchantments, rune rolls, something where we can change like one substat on the rune, something like that. Because like I'm so tired of having that, you know, one bad stat of resistance always hanging over my head. Like if I could switch that resistance to HP or accuracy, this rune would be absolutely perfect forever. But again, you guys know it is basically impossible to get a perfect rune in Skylanders. But this helmet I will keep on her forever because the attack, the crit, and the crit damage is irreplaceable. Having 20 crit damage, triple roll, and a 1 attack roll is something that I'll probably never replace. I think the helmet is actually perfect. Now, as far as the body goes, not the best body, but we do have some accuracy. And again, I was talking about having a little bit of accuracy. So having 14% followed up with attack, crit rate, and crit damage. Perfect rune in my eyes. Yes, some of the rolls are minimum. But for a purple body, it's not getting any better than this. This is probably better than some of your 6-star legendary gear. It is definitely better than some of my 6-star legendary gear, so I know it's probably better than some of you guys' as well. And I always tell you guys there's nothing wrong with using 6-star purple gear, especially if it's perfect like this. Yes, you do lose like 120 battle points, but honestly, it's nothing to lose sleep over. The purple rune is going to do just as good for you as a 6-star legendary one will if the rolls are good enough. Now, if these rolls were terrible and this was like resistance, then no, it's not better than a 6-star legendary piece of gear. But in its current state, it definitely competes with a 6-star legendary piece of gear. Now, as far as the boots and gloves go, you guys know it is like so hard to get these drops, HP boots and attack gloves, at least good ones in C6. So that is why she doesn't have anything on her right now. I can look and see if I have something. I don't think I do. I don't want to put defense on her. The boots are definitely going to be HP no matter what, because I do want to meet that threshold, you know, of 15 to 20,000 HP. That is really important. Unless I have like 6-star purple ones here that are HP, I will just leave them off for now. So let me see. I don't think I do that, to be honest with you. I think all of my HP boots are being used at the moment because they're just so hard to get that when I get them, they immediately go on one of my Skylanders because I'm always needing them. Same thing with attack gloves. So eventually when I get them, the substats I'll be looking for is main stat HP. Then I'll be looking for crit rate, crit damage, attack, accuracy, boost rate. Even evasion would be fine, but mostly looking for crit rate, crit damage, and attack with an HP main stat for the boots. And then the glove, we're looking for attack, of course, as the main stat. Now, these gloves actually wouldn't be bad on her. This has 70% accuracy. Now, if this crit rate wasn't a 3, or if it rolls crit rate 2 more times, I can actually put these on her no problem. Yes, we have that resistance stat again, but I can promise you guys you're always going to have a bad stat on your legendary runes. You just have to pray and hope that it doesn't roll it on like the, you know, 9th or 12th roll. That's when it really stings. Like when you have a perfect set of gloves and then on the 9th roll, it'll roll resistance or a minimum roll into resistance or even a 3 into crit rate. It just crushes your soul and makes you want to rage quit and throw your mouse through the screen or break your phone over your knee. Trust me, I know the feeling, guys. But right now, I don't have anything worth putting on her. Now, this has 16 resistance, but the rest of these stats are perfect. We have crit rate, accuracy, and HP. Again, I would have to roll them up to 12 before deciding if I want to use them or not. And yeah, I don't have anything worth putting on her. And as far as the gloves go, I really want 6-star legendary gloves. I might have some purple 6-star ones. But again, like, test rolling runes in this game is just a nightmare. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be terrible. And you're not going to use them anyways. So from what it looks like, we don't have anything worth putting on her. So honestly, I wouldn't leave these boots on her, but just to do it for the video purposes, just to see the overall stats. And this is without being transcended, and we'd still have to level up those pieces of gear, but she'd only have 50% crit rate, so I would definitely have to make some major changes. For me, I want my tide pool at least 75%. That's the way I would like to build her. I can't see her with anything less than that. I mean, the crit damage is really good, but I really want that 70% crit rate. So in her current state, those boots have to go because I need at least 10 to 15% crit rate on the boots to be able to achieve, you know, that 70 to 75%. So the boots would have to go, and depending on what these gloves roll, like if it rolls 2 more times the crit rate, then I would leave the gloves. But other than that, I'm still going to change the boots and the gloves. So I think that covers everything for my girl Tidepool. And again, if you guys have any questions, please comment down below. Let me know who you guys want to see next. I always, you know, judge these build guides on what you guys tell me in the comments, what I hear on Discord. Basically, whatever you guys ask for is what I kind of roll with. Tidepool was the most asked for, so that's what we did here today. And I love hearing your comments. Let me know how you build your Tidepool. Let me know her stats. Post them on Discord. I'd love to see it, guys. If you want to be a part of the sub celebration giveaway, that video is linked down below. I will be picking the winners on Monday. So this is basically like your last chance to get a part of it. If you want to follow me on Twitch and Discord, those are also linked down below. We do 2 monthly giveaways on Discord, random giveaways on Twitch. If you want to be a part of the random giveaway that we do here on YouTube, all you have to do is sub to the channel, like and comment on my past 10 videos, and that will automatically enter you into the random giveaway. Thank you guys so much for the support here on YouTube and everywhere else. I truly do love each and every single one of you. I will see you in the next one. Spaceballs out. Peace.